So Gaia Tribe is both an event that happens over 5 days every year, but it's also an ongoing community. It is a tribe, and the camp offers a space for people to reconnect and also for new folks to join and be part of an ongoing community. And I think that's what's so wonderful, having done it for 14 years now. We've seen little ones growing up. We've seen teenagers get married and have kids of their own. And that feeling of building on something is just so precious, actually. And yeah.
Gives people a chance to come and reconnect, and people obviously meet outside of the camp and have made deep, lasting friendships with each other.
So it's a network, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a network as
and
well.
And it's pools of people that gather and make new friends and it's sort of international as well, isn't it? People come from different parts of the world, from Australia to, and Europe and
Germany,
and all over the country. So it's a global gathering as well. Although largely, I'd say it's from north of the country.
So I guess I've had an embodied movement practice for quite a long time. I trained as a dancer, and I've always spent time in nature. So there's quite a natural meeting of being in one's body as a dancer and the way that nature brings one into one's body, which is about being in the senses, about feeling the weight of the body, about feeling the textures of the land, about letting the senses interact with the physical and emotional body, and creativity that really makes sense to everyone, because as children that's what we do. As young children, it's really where we're at, and we can just come back to it.
Roll and feel the weight of your body, the earthy, fleshy weight of your body.
Well, it seems to be an experiment that's working and that's got wheels. So it's been going since 2005 now, and it's still wanted. So we're onto something that's been called for.
The Kaylee was quite a new thing. We did it last year, and we bought in a caller because no one felt confident enough to. A caller. Yes, that's the person who calls the dancers. But this year, because of last year went so well, the group actually was able to sort of
hold it completely.
Hold it, So we feel like we've got a Kaylee band, which is great.
Out of the scratch band.
Out of the scratch band, yeah. So Gaia offers something for everyone, but I think especially for our young ones, we have a creche, which this year went very well, I feel. So that's for the under 5. So while parents or caretakers do the workshops, they can leave their little ones at the creche, which was very well held by a lovely group.
And hold it up, perfect. Now hold it there, hold it there. Keep holding it for a few seconds, and then when you bring it up, just lift it off when you're ready. Just lift up. Ready and lift. Perfect.
Yeah, the teens had a really good experience this year. Lovely man called Max came and worked with them, and they did a transitions ritual, was it? Yeah, we didn't actually, obviously we weren't part of that, but they came back really fired up and very excited about what the journey that they'd been on with Max, and that was really, really successful. Yeah.
The powerful thing, I think, especially with the work that the teens did, is that there was a voice. They had a voice within the work that they were doing with Max. And then they invited the parents in as well to have a dialogue with them and for them to be able to share. And the net result was, in our closing circle, the teens were very vociferous and were really wanting to communicate and be part of that process. And it's the first time that's ever really happened. So I feel there's been a real, I don't know, evolution and a maturation.
And maturing, absolutely.
Of the young ones who've come through Gaia, and they're finding their confidence and their voice, aren't they? Yeah. So I think it was particularly successful this year for the teens.
Gaia is a place where people are free, no matter how old or how young you are, because I feel like we're all kind of one family almost, and that everyone's looking after each other. So if you have like a 3-year-old or, you know, whatever the age of the child is, you can just let them go and explore and adventure through the wonderful place, you know, we are, you know, where our location at the moment, with a river and everything, a stream. And I think you can just let them go, and knowing that people are looking after them and they're going to have a good time. This guy's amazing.
So the work that reconnects was birthed by a really inspiring scholar and visionary woman called Joanna Macy, and she's an American lady. She started off, she pulls together various strands of understanding so that we can basically bear to live in the world. She's a bit of a guide. And the work that reconnects was birthed out of her looking at systems theory, deep ecology, being a practicing Buddhist, being interested in earth wisdom traditions, being an environmental activist herself. And she conceived this because in her activism work she could see a lot of burnout. There's a lot of passion in people to do something about the state of the world, but they were getting burnout, emotional and psychological burnout. So by drawing on the wisdom of the earth and the wisdom of ancient peoples, she conceived this group process work called the work that reconnects. So when I came to Gaia Tribe many years ago, it feels now, and we thought, wow, fantastic, this is a great place, there's lots of people here very passionate about the world, very passionate about the earth, and this can help people to go a bit deeper and get in touch with their feelings for the world and reframe it and come out refreshed. So the way that we run it at Gaia Tribe is we do it over a series of workshops, so we invite adults along, and they go on a bit of a group journey together. And the way that the work works is it's called the spiral. So we start off with gratitude, so that's the foundation and the place where we connect with what we love about the earth. And then we move into a critical element, which is honouring our pain for the world. And a lot of the issues that are going on in the world, and one reason why we're not responding is because we're blocking our pain response to what's actually going on in the world for all sorts of very, very natural reasons. It's a bit scary, our society doesn't accept it in lots of ways. There's lots and lots of reasons, so we often block that bit, but we still then go into action. So we're not always working from a place of open heart. when we go out there. So this gives people an opportunity to come together and honour their pain for the world in whatever perspective that they come from, and it's a really, really powerful process. And then that moves on to the next part of the spiral, which is seeing with new eyes. So that's reframing us as human beings living now. And that involves all sorts of things, looking at systems theory, looking at deep ecology, looking at deep time. Our lifespans are a mere blip within the planetary life scales. So it's looking at us like that. And this perspectives really help people to move on and shift. And then from there, we go into going forth. It's, wow, okay, I've had a bit of an emotional release, I've opened my mind. How am I going to take this out into the world? And then we have a third session, which is a fourth session, which is going forth. And then these people, there's a core group of people that often do it at camp, and then they take that out into the camp. And then of course, when people leave the camp, they take that out into the world. It's a very, very enriching, deep process, which sits really well with the rest of the camp.
So there was quite a lot of creative stuff, which we always have. So there was pottery this year run by Gaina, and she was offering pottery throughout the day. It was wonderful. And she created a kiln, a dragon kiln, from mud collected from the river. And that was a whole process in itself, building that and the gathering, then lighting it, and then filling it with pots. So that was quite magical, wasn't it? Yeah, so... The dragon, I don't know what the symbolism was about that, but just, yeah, I suppose it's a sort of fiery animal, isn't it? Yeah. And then in terms of other activities, we had bushcraft as well, and axe throwing for the first time this year, which was, I think, raised some eyebrows, but it's done completely safely. And spoon carving, and what was the other activity that, working with fire as well, how to light fire from scratch. So, yeah, that's always been a very important part of Gaia is bushcraft and the green woodworking. So, yeah, long may that continue. I would like more of that, wouldn't we? And then we have the Gaia Games, which is a sort of annual
It's a knockout kind of...
lovely, playful, competitive chaos. Everyone dresses up and, it's a glorified sports day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, so.
Make the most of it. It's always a good one. Love, love, love. Everything.
Sorry to distract you.
Actually came to Gaia in quite a low space, quite pretty stressed from work and various things, and really had quite low energy.
I'm a honey
This has been such a great relief to relax into a loving space and be able to re-find a bit of myself and dance with people and share with people and enjoy the beautiful surroundings. So it's not the first time that's happened to me here. I'm a regular attender, and again, it's just delivered for that peace, the relaxation. So you don't have to be hoopy-doopy, happy-clappy. It can just come, bring whatever, and relax into it. And it's lovely here. So thank you, Gaia.
Peace Cake Cafe, which offers vegetarian food at Gaia, is a very important part of the event, and very important to me, especially. And it's a great opportunity for people who want working tickets to be a part of a good team. It's quite a lot of fun, chopping veg and serving, I think. Most people seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's a good crew. Yeah.
So, it's a very big part, and it's that thing of nourishment, of being able to let go, especially I think for women who still do large part of the cooking. It's a great opportunity just to have a bit of holiday from cooking.
If we didn't do a cafe, then a lot of time is actually spent making meals, which you can do around the fire, but I'd kind of like to offer that so that people don't have to do that.
It's a service, isn't it?
It's a service, yeah, absolutely.
And we started doing breakfast as well now, so that seems to be very popular, especially when it rains, you know.
Are you still doing the bread making? I didn't
Yeah,
notice that.
yeah. Bread making was happening.
Blake's doing that now. Yeah.
Blake took that on, and made some really good bread buns. Yeah.
We've got a intergenerational community company called the King's Troop, based in Hebden Bridge, Calderdale, and we specialise in performance of Shakespeare, and I edit the text and reduce it down to probably about half, but keeping the structure and making it as accessible as possible for all age groups. And yes, we've been working with the Royal Shakespeare Company for the past about 6 or 7 years, performing in their outdoor space called the Dell, and that's been very exciting. And we've always also linked up with our local refugee centre and have multilingual performances of Shakespeare.
Fantastic. And what about Shakespeare and Gaia?
So Shakespeare, Gaia lends itself to that model really well of I guess what we call para-theatre. So it's theatre. Maybe Richard could give a description of para-theatre.
Well, it's really taking an idea. You've got a Shakespeare's idea, but it's like seeing. There's no casting. There's no auditions. It's whoever wants to turn up is the right person to turn up. And we love little children because this is one of the most interesting aspects of what we've been doing over the last 10 years is that we've been introducing young children into the concept that they can actually play, and they can play in front of adults, and they can play different characters, and they can do it very freely. So the skill really and the interest is in where is the energy, where is the child's interest, and how can you match their interests in playfulness and movement and energy and quick shifts. How can you match this with a scripted play that's difficult and 400 years old, and the language is difficult. So how do you match this? How do you fit this? So the skill, Mary's skill is or our skill is in getting a fit between the child or the adult's interests and where the play is coming from. So it's really flexible. It's got to be fast moving. It's got to be funny. There's got to be some humour in there. And as with this year, with Henry VI, Selma challenged us and said, right, well, what's this got to do with climate change? Well, of course, Henry VI Part 1 has a huge amount to do with climate change because Joan of Arc really is being seen today as Xena Joan, eco-warrior. And that's of course who she was, inspired to win over her people to a particular cause, which happened to be anti-English because they were French. So really there's a very important sort of aspect here of Brexit and the challenges of what happens when we get a bit too nationalistic, or we get problems with countries not wanting to see themselves as open to others to come in and not to be a part of Europe, which we've been for hundreds of years. So it's a really interesting time. In Henry VI's time, there was this fight between England and France because the English wanted to take over the French estates and French castles. So it's all about that battle and the politics of Henry VI himself, a young boy who had a protector, Gloucester, who happened to not very like the Bishop of Winchester at all. So there was sort of politics and religion and church and state all mixed up. Yeah. So we're exploring those aspects, and so there's a historical aspect to it. There's a energetic and playful aspect for children playing in front of, making a show together in an ensemble way.
Peeled, priest.
What do you mean peeled? I haven't been in the sun that long.
Manifest conspirator.
What are you on about?
I'll not budge a foot.
Indeed not, but I have God on my side.
Yeah, I love the Gaia Tribe because, for one, there's horses just back there, and I really like feeding them, and it's really fun, and there's lots of little workshops to do. I did something with clay, and I also made some bath bombs like these.
What is a bath bomb? What is a bath bomb?
It's pretty much like
It's just soap?
You put it in the bath and then it fizzes up and then it's really nice. It's like soap, but it dissolves.
And who did you make that with?
I don't know. I forgot her name.
Okay, anything else? Have you been going to the silent discos?
Yeah, the silent disco's really fun. That was one of the main reasons why I actually wanted to come here.
Really?
Because I really like the silent disco.
Okay, fantastic. So, and you've been to Gaia Tribe before. Is that when you discovered silent discos?
Yeah. We came because my mum's friend Claudia recommended it, and then when we came, I did a lot of workshops, and then I did the silent disco, which was really fun.
There was, at the camp, there was an opportunity to explore and get information. We had someone from Extinction Rebellion who came to the camp, which was wonderful, Rowan, and she provided a lot of information actually about the current science around climate change. So that was really informative, because I thought I knew quite a lot, but there's a whole lot more. So that was very informative. And then exploring the issue through the World Cafe model, which is about how to connect with group mind in a way,
Very rich.
Very rich, yeah. I think what we took away from it was how much the young people are really engaged with the conversation around climate change, and how they're going to lead the way, I think, and are leading the way already. I mean, yeah. But that was very much evident with the young people of Gaia, that they're passionate and very concerned. And there was lovely conversations happening throughout the camp around it. So it was a really positive thing. And in terms of what people will take away, I think it's continuing conversations and engagement. We learned about ways we could engage with groups, back home.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about plastic, wasn't there? And putting plastic into plastic bottles and ramming them in and making like plastic bricks out of them. And
there was
all kinds of ways of
small things that we can do, as well as sort of activism that we can become involved in and need to be. But it was done very much. The conversation was very much about really engaging with what we love, what we're passionate about, what's worth saving.
Absolutely.
My name's Matt, and I've been coming to Gaia Tribe for the last 8 years, every year, and we've made a lot of friends in the people here, and gradually been more interested in how the camp's organised. We had a planning meeting for the camp in February, and one of the subjects that came up a lot was that of climate change, an issue that's become more and more mainstream recently, even with the documentary by David Attenborough on the BBC. And so we thought the principle of the camp is about people connecting and doing amazing things, but why don't we provide a little bit more structured time for people to learn about climate change, connect and do amazing things about that. And so I've just led a session on, which is a World Cafe, which is a model of social learning based on the idea of a community of practice. And we managed 80 people in this room, in this tent. Everyone split into groups of 4 or 5, and we talked over 3 questions. The one was, what do you love about people in the world? The second question was, what have you heard about climate change? And the third question was, what would you love to do to make the change that you would like to see? And a lot of thought went into the questions to make it as inclusive as possible to both young people and elders. This is what we wanted. Rather than having a session for adults and a session for kids, it was how do we really learn together? And the beauty of this way of talking about things is that the real learning happens between people with different life experience. And so I've just seen adults fascinated about what the children have heard about climate change and what they would love to do. And children have asked questions that their parents have said they've never asked before. And there's a real tension and dynamic in the learning between these different groups of people. The buzz in here was great. It really, really fantastic. People have said some really wonderful things, and I think the value was really, really, really high.
So this is something that came to me at the end of last year's camp, and I just wrote it straight off, and I just felt really moved to write these words. Every age, every stage of life meets here, the field of play, of thinner skins and opening hearts. This field where the veils between worlds stretch open in the luminous dawn, where magic and nature spirits are but a breath away, and the utter beauty of fecund nature catches in your throat. Joyous moments abound as our children scamper like lambs in the intoxicating freedom. Is this real, we ask ourselves? Is it an illusion that we should feel so happy here in this place where it is so easy to be the best of ourselves? Only 2 fields away and a bumpy track lies the rest of the world, a world apart. And we, cocooned in our little bit of heaven, drink in the earth medicine, grounded, connected, simplified, creative, playful, open. We remember who we are in all our magnificence. And the medicine sustains us, touches every fibre of our being, so that we can remember that this is the real world. The true riches are here: land, water, sun, sky, sweet air, animals, birds, us.